I arrived at my daughter's house on Sunday with a homemade pot roast, excited to see my grandchildren. But when I walked into the dining room, my daughter Amanda and son-in-law Craig were sitting at the table with stern faces. Amanda stood up and said coldly, "Mom, you're not family anymore. Get out." I was frozen in shock. Craig added, "You heard her. Leave the food and go." My hands trembled as I set down the pot roast. I looked at Amanda and said quietly, "Remember this date well. Today you didn't just lose your mother, you destroyed your future." I drove home in a fog. Tears streamed down my face so badly I had to pull over twice just to see the road. My hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. When I finally made it to my small apartment, I collapsed on the couch and sobbed until my throat was raw. How had it come to this? I kept replaying those words in my mind. "You're not family anymore. Get out." The coldness in Amanda's eyes when she said it, the smug look on Craig's face. Like I was nothing. Like the past 5 years meant absolutely nothing. Let me tell you about those 5 years. When my husband died, I was 62 years old and lost. We'd been married for 40 years. The grief nearly killed me. But I had Amanda, and she had just found out she was pregnant with Tyler. She needed me, and honestly, I needed her too. I needed a reason to keep going. I sold the big family home where Amanda grew up. It was too much house for just me. Too many memories. I moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment and gave Amanda and Craig $70,000 for the down payment on their dream house. That beautiful 4-bedroom colonial with the big backyard they'd been eyeing for months. I wanted them to have it. I wanted my grandchildren to grow up in a real home, and I was happy to do it. That money was supposed to be for my retirement travels, but what did I need with Paris or Italy? My family was right here. After Tyler was born, I became their regular babysitter. 3 days a week, sometimes 4. I'd arrive at 7 in the morning so Amanda and Craig could get to work. I'd feed Tyler, change his diapers, play with him for hours. When Madison came along 2 years later, I took care of both of them. Then baby Emma arrived, and I had 3 little ones to manage. I didn't mind. I loved those children with everything in me. I cooked dinners for Amanda and Craig, big casseroles they could heat up during the week. I did their laundry when it piled up. I helped Tyler with his homework when he started school. I was there for every scraped knee, every bad dream, every moment they needed someone. Craig was never warm to me. From the day Amanda married him, he'd been distant, polite, but cold. I told myself he was just reserved, that some people took longer to open up. Amanda loved him, and he provided for her, so I kept my concerns to myself. But 6 months ago, something changed. Craig's sister Diane moved to town from Nevada. She was recently divorced and needed a fresh start. Amanda and Diane became instant best friends. They went to yoga classes together, had lunch dates, went shopping every weekend. At first, I was happy Amanda had a friend, but then I noticed Amanda pulling away from me. She started canceling our weekly coffee dates. She'd make excuses about why I couldn't babysit. She stopped answering my calls right away. When I did see her, Diane was usually there. And Diane would make these little comments. "Oh, you still do Amanda's laundry? Amanda, you're a grown woman." Or, "Sonia, you should really focus on yourself more. Don't you have your own life?" I tried to be understanding. Amanda was setting boundaries. That's healthy, right? The articles online all talked about boundaries, so I gave them space. I backed off. I only came over when invited. I stopped calling as much. And look where that got me. Standing in my kitchen that terrible Sunday evening, staring at the refrigerator covered with drawings my grandchildren had made me. Tyler's wobbly house with the smiling Sunday. Madison's rainbow with all of us holding hands. Emma's scribbles that Amanda told me were supposed to be flowers. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just sat in the dark wondering what I'd done wrong. Was I too involved? Too helpful? Had I overstepped somehow and not realized it? 8 days passed. 8 days of silence. 8 days of me jumping every time the phone rang, hoping it was Amanda calling to say she was sorry, that it was all a misunderstanding. When the phone finally did ring on that 8th day, I grabbed it so fast I nearly dropped it. "Mom?" Amanda's voice was thick with tears. "Mom, I need you." My heart leaped. She needed me. Of course she did. She was my daughter. "Amanda, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Craig lost his job. She was crying hysterically now, barely able to get the words out. "Mom, we're going to lose the house. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. We're going to lose everything." My chest tightened. "Oh, no. Oh, my poor girl." "Amanda, I'm so sorry. When did this happen?" 2 months ago. He's been looking for work, but nothing's come through. Mom, I'm terrified. The kids don't know yet. We need $50,000 to catch up on the payments and buy us some time. You have to help us. Please. $50,000. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. That was most of what I had left in savings. My Social Security and small pension from teaching covered my basic expenses, but that savings was my safety net, for emergencies, for medical bills if I got sick. But this was an emergency, wasn't it? My daughter needed help. My grandchildren might lose their home. "Amanda," I said slowly, "you told me I wasn't family. You kicked me out of your house." I know, and I'm so sorry, Mom." She was sobbing harder now. "I didn't mean it. Craig was just so stressed about losing his job, and he took it out on you, and I should have stood up for you, but I was scared, and I just went along with what he said. Please forgive me. I need my mom. We need you." My heart was breaking listening to her cry. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe I should have been more understanding about what they were going through. Craig losing his job would put enormous pressure on anyone. "Let me think about it," I said. "This is a lot of money, Amanda." "There's no time to think." Her voice turned sharp, desperate. "The bank wants payment by Friday, or they start the foreclosure process. It's Tuesday. Mom, please." "For Tyler, Madison, and Emma. They're your grandchildren. You can't let them be homeless." The guilt hit me like a punch to the stomach. The thought of those 3 little faces, confused and scared as they packed up their toys, as strangers forced them out of the only home they'd ever known. "Okay," I heard myself saying. "Okay, I'll help. Thank you. Oh, Mom, thank you so much." Amanda's relief was palpable through the phone. "Can you bring it tomorrow? We need to wire it to the bank as soon as possible." "Amanda, I need a day or 2 to get that much cash together. The bank has limits on same-day withdrawals." "No, we need it now." Her voice rose to almost a scream. "Don't you understand? We're losing our house. What kind of mother are you? You have the money sitting there while your grandchildren are about to be on the street." I pulled the phone away from my ear, stunned. "Amanda, I said I'd help. I just need a day." "You know what? Forget it. You're a selfish, bitter old woman. I hope you die alone with all your precious money." The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, my whole body numb. What just happened? 1 second she was begging, the next she was screaming at me. This wasn't the Amanda I raised. This wasn't my daughter. But the guilt gnawed at me. All night I tossed and turned, seeing Madison's face, hearing her little voice. "Grandma, why didn't you help us?" By morning I'd convinced myself I was being too harsh. Yes, Amanda had been cruel, but she was under tremendous stress. People say things they don't mean when they're desperate. And those children, my grandchildren, they were innocent in all this. I got dressed and went straight to the bank when it opened at 9. I withdrew $40,000. It was almost everything I had left, besides the money I needed for rent and basic expenses for the next few months. My hands shook as I endorsed the cashier's check. This was my future I was handing over, my security, but family came first. That's what my husband always said. Family comes first. I drove to Amanda's house, the check in my purse feeling like it weighed 100 pounds. My stomach was in knots. I hadn't called ahead. I wanted to surprise them, to see the relief and gratitude on their faces when I showed them I was there for them, no matter what. I pulled into their driveway at 10:30 in the morning. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Barbecue. Someone was grilling. I walked around the side of the house to the backyard gate, my heart starting to pound. The gate was open, and what I saw made me stop in my tracks. Amanda, Craig, and Diane were in the backyard having a party. Not a small gathering, a full party. There was a huge new grill, the kind that cost at least $800, with Craig standing in front of it flipping steaks. Expensive steaks, thick ribeyes. Amanda and Diane were lounging in new patio chairs, the tags still visible hanging off the sides, drinking wine from a bottle I recognized as costing at least $60. I'd seen it at the liquor store and whistled at the price. They were laughing, not worried, not stressed, laughing. I stood there frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. The check in my purse suddenly felt like evidence of my own stupidity. Amanda saw me first. Her face didn't fall with embarrassment like I expected. Instead, it went cold. Hard. "What are you doing here?" she asked, not getting up from her chair. Craig turned from the grill, a beer in his hand. "We told you to stay away." My mouth was dry. "I brought the money. For the mortgage." Diane burst out laughing. Actually laughing. A high-pitched cackle that made me flinch. "Oh my God." She fell for it. "Amanda, you were right. Guilt works every time." The world tilted. "What?" Amanda stood up slowly, a smirk playing on her lips. "Mom, we're not losing the house. Craig didn't lose his job. Well, he did, but he got a new one 2 weeks ago, making even more money." I couldn't breathe. "You lied?" "We needed to see if you actually cared about your grandchildren," Craig said, taking a long sip of his beer. "Apparently money is more important to you than family." You hesitated. You made Amanda beg. A real mother would have offered immediately. "You failed the test," Diane added, still grinning. What kind of grandmother makes her daughter grovel for help? My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open my purse. I pulled out the check, and for a moment, Amanda's eyes lit up. She actually thought I was going to give it to her. Instead, I tore it in half. Then, in half, again, and again. I let the pieces fall to their perfect green grass like snow. "You're sick," I whispered. "All of you. This is sick." Amanda's face flushed red with anger. "How dare you? We gave you a chance to prove you love us and you failed. You're a terrible mother and a terrible grandmother." I turned and walked away. I don't remember getting to my car. I don't remember driving home. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in my apartment, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. They'd played me, manipulated me, used my love for my grandchildren as a weapon against me, and I'd almost given them $40,000. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Darker even than when my husband died, because at least then I'd had Amanda. I'd had someone who loved me. Now I had no one. I called my best friend Helen. We'd known each other for 35 years, since we taught at the same elementary school. If anyone would understand, it was Helen. I told her everything over coffee at her kitchen table. She was outraged, called Amanda every name in the book, held my hand while I cried. "You did the right thing tearing up that check," she said firmly. "They don't deserve a penny from you." Her support meant everything. I started to feel like maybe I could survive this. I joined a book club at the local library, something I'd been meaning to do for years. I started volunteering to shelve books on Tuesday mornings. Small steps toward building a life that didn't revolve around my daughter and her family. 3 weeks passed. I was starting to feel something like peace. Not happiness, but at least I could sleep through the night without waking up crying. Then my brother Paul called. Paul lived in Ohio with his wife. We talked maybe once a month, usually just to check in. So when I saw his name on my phone, I smiled. A normal family connection that wasn't poisoned. Sonia. His voice was cold. What the hell is going on? My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Amanda called me yesterday. She was crying so hard she could barely talk. She says you've been harassing her family, showing up at their house drunk, banging on their door at all hours, making threats. What? Paul, that's not true. I haven't been near their house since that day at the barbecue. She showed me text messages, Sonia. From your number, horrible things, telling her you hope her children die, that you'll burn their house down. She had to get a restraining order against you. My blood ran cold. Paul, I never sent any messages like that. She's lying. Why would she lie? She's scared, Sonia. She says you've had some kind of breakdown since Dad died, and you're not stable anymore. She's worried about her kids' safety. I can show you my phone right now. I never sent anything like that. She said you'd say that you'd deny it. Sonia, you need help. Professional help. The call ended badly. He didn't believe me. My own brother didn't believe me. Over the next week, more calls came. My cousin Jennifer, my Aunt Carol, even an old friend from my teaching days. All of them had heard from Amanda. All of them had seen evidence of my instability. Text messages, emails, even a video that apparently showed someone who looked like me screaming in Amanda's driveway, though I'd never done any such thing. Amanda had launched a full campaign to destroy my reputation. And it was working. At book club, the women who'd been so welcoming suddenly made excuses to sit away from me. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. Helen called me and said, Sonia, I hate to tell you this, but Diane's been at the grocery store, the post office, everywhere, telling people you're an abusive mother, that you hit Amanda when she was a child, that you're mentally ill and dangerous. None of that's true. I know that. But people are talking. I'm so sorry. The library called me the next day. The director, a kind woman named Beth, who I'd known for 2 years, sounded uncomfortable. Sonia, we've had some concerns raised by community members. I think it's best if you take a break from volunteering for a while. Beth, whatever you heard, it's not true. I'm sure it's all a misunderstanding. But we have to be careful. I'm sorry. Just like that, I was shut out. From my book club, from my volunteer work, from my community. Amanda had systematically destroyed my reputation, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Who would believe a supposedly unstable old woman over a concerned young mother? I was alone, completely alone, living on my modest Social Security and pension, with no family support, no friends who'd stand by me, and a community that saw me as a problem to be avoided. Amanda had won. She'd isolated me completely. And I had a sinking feeling this was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my door. I opened it, confused, and he handed me an envelope. You've been served, he said, not unkindly, and left. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were legal documents. Amanda and Craig were suing me. The claim made me dizzy. They were demanding I return the $70,000 I'd given them for their house down payment. They claimed it hadn't been a gift but a loan, and they had a document with my signature proving it. I sank onto my couch, reading the same lines over and over. Loan agreement, promissory note, payment terms, and there at the bottom, what looked like my signature. I'd never signed any such document. I'd never even seen this paper before. It was a gift. I'd told them it was a gift. We'd celebrated together when they got the keys to the house. But here it was, in legal black and white, claiming I'd loaned them the money, and now they wanted to be released from the debt by having the court declare they didn't actually owe it, plus they were suing me for emotional distress. The amount they were asking for made me sick. $70,000 returned, plus $200,000 in damages for the emotional harm I'd supposedly caused them with my harassment and threats. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I had maybe $15,000 left in my savings after almost giving them $40,000. My monthly income barely covered my rent, food, and utilities. I spent the next day calling every lawyer in the phone book. Most wanted retainers I couldn't afford. Finally, I found legal aid services. A tired-sounding woman told me I qualified for free representation and they'd assign someone to my case. 3 days later, I met my lawyer. His name was Jerry, and he looked about 12 years old, though he assured me he'd been practicing for 4 years. He reviewed the documents in a cramped office that smelled like old coffee. The The signature's clearly forged, he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. Look here, the loops are wrong, the pressure's uneven. But proving forgery takes expert analysis, and that costs money. How much money? At least $5,000 for a handwriting expert. Then there's court costs, filing fees, depositions. Even with me working for free, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 to properly defend this. Money I didn't have. What if I can't pay for all that? Jerry looked at me with sympathy. Then we do our best with what we have. But I won't lie to you, Sonia. Without that expert testimony, it's your word against a legal document. And juries tend to believe documents. I felt the walls closing in. Amanda knew I couldn't afford to fight this properly. She was betting on it. Jerry continued reviewing the file. There's something else. Something worse. How could there be something worse? He pulled out another set of papers. Your daughter filed these yesterday. She's petitioned for emergency guardianship over you. She's claiming you're mentally incompetent and can no longer manage your own affairs. The room spun. What does that mean? If the court grants guardianship, Amanda would have control over all your finances and medical decisions. She could access your bank accounts, sell your possessions, even decide where you live. She could put me in a nursing home. Yes, I couldn't breathe. This was beyond anything I'd imagined. Amanda wasn't just trying to ruin my reputation or get money from me. She was trying to take away my freedom, my entire life. The hearing is in 5 days, Jerry said. We need to prepare. Do you have any medical records showing you're of sound mind? Any character witnesses who'll testify for you? I thought of my brother who wouldn't take my calls. My book club friends who'd abandoned me. Helen, who was supportive but scared of being dragged into the drama. No, I whispered. I don't have anyone. Jerry tried to hide his concern, but I saw it. Okay, we'll figure something out. Let me do some digging into the fraud case. Sometimes there's a trail, emails, texts, bank records, something that shows premeditation. After I left Jerry's office, I sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour. I couldn't go home. Couldn't face my empty apartment knowing that in 5 days, I might lose control of my entire life. How had this happened? How had my own daughter become so cruel? What had I done to deserve this? My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it. Stop fighting. Give us what we want and this ends. Keep fighting and you'll lose everything. We have lawyers. We have money. You have nothing. You can't win. I knew it was from Amanda, even though she'd used a different number. The threat was clear. Give up or be destroyed. For the first time in my life, I understood how people just gave up. How they stopped fighting because the fight took everything they had left. I was 67 years old, living on $1,200 a month, with no family support and no friends. What chance did I have? I sat there as the sun set, as the parking lot emptied, as the streetlights came on, and I cried until there were no tears left. The next morning, I woke up exhausted. I'd barely slept. The guardianship hearing was in 2 days, and Jerry had called the night before to say our case was weak. Without character witnesses, and with Amanda's carefully constructed narrative of my mental instability, the judge might side with her. I was at my kitchen table, staring at a cup of coffee I'd forgotten to drink, when someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a moment, fear spiked through me. Was it another legal notice? Police? Had Amanda escalated things even further? I looked through the peephole and saw a woman I barely recognized. Craig's mother, Patricia. I'd only met her a handful of times at family gatherings. She lived about an hour away and kept to herself. I opened the door. Patricia? She looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her purse strap. Sonia, can I come in? We need to talk. I let her in, offered her coffee. She declined. We sat in my tiny living room, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't know how to say this, she began. I've been struggling with it for weeks, months, really. Say what? She took a deep breath. I know what they're doing to you. Craig, Amanda, and Diane. I know about the whole plan. My heart started pounding. What plan? I was at Craig's house about 6 weeks ago. I went to use the bathroom, and I heard them in his office. The door was cracked open. They were laughing about you, about how they'd been planning this for over a year. A year. They'd been planning to destroy me for over a year, Patricia continued, her voice shaking. Diane's a paralegal. She helped them research elder abuse laws, specifically how to frame a parent for it. They talked about isolating you first from the family, then from the community, then going after your money. Craig said, and I'll never forget this, he said. By the time we're done, she'll have nothing and no one. She'll give us whatever we want just to make it stop. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me? Because he's my son. Tears filled her eyes. I know that's not an excuse, but he's my son, and I kept telling myself, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it sounded. But then I heard more. They were planning to forge your signature on that loan document. Diane knew how to do it. And the guardianship idea was Craig's. He said once Amanda had control of your accounts, they could drain everything, and you couldn't stop them. Did you record any of this? She pulled out her phone with a shaking hand. The last time I was there, yes, 2 weeks ago. I couldn't live with myself anymore. I have cancer, Sonia, stage 3. I'm starting treatment next week, but the doctors aren't optimistic. I can't go to my grave knowing I let this happen. She pressed play. Craig's voice came through clearly. Once Mom gets guardianship and we drain her accounts, we can do the same thing to my mother. She's got at least $300,000 sitting there, just waiting. Amanda's laugh. Your mom's easier. She already trusts us. Diane's voice. This is almost too easy. Elder abuse laws are set up to protect old people, but they're so easy to flip. The system believes the younger person every time. More laughter. Discussion of how they'd use the money to buy a vacation home. How they'd already picked one out in Florida. The recording ended. I sat there, numb. They're planning to do this to you too, I said. Patricia nodded, wiping her eyes. I know, that's why I'm here. I thought if I stayed quiet, stayed out of it, I'd be safe. But they've already started. I checked my bank account last week, and $35,000 is missing. Craig has access because he helps me with online banking. He's been stealing from me for months. We sat in silence for a moment. Two mothers, both betrayed by the children they'd raised and loved. We can stop them, I said. With that recording, we can prove everything. But there's a problem, Patricia said. Amanda's lawyer will argue I edited it, or coerced them, or something. I've already talked to a lawyer friend. He said recordings like this are tricky in court. And with the police report, from when Tyler showed up here. What police report? Patricia's face went pale. You don't know? Oh, Sonia, she explained. 3 nights ago, Tyler had apparently run away from home. He'd shown up somewhere, and Amanda and Craig had called the police, claiming I'd taken him, that I'd lured him away or convinced him to run to me because I was trying to turn the children against their parents. But he never came here, I said. I haven't seen Tyler in weeks. I know. Craig told me the truth when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Tyler ran to a friend's house because Amanda and Craig were fighting, screaming at each other about money and about you. Tyler heard them say horrible things about how once they got your money, all their problems would be solved. He got scared and ran, but they used it as another opportunity to make you look unstable. They filed a police report saying you'd essentially kidnapped him. I put my head in my hands. The judge is going to see that police report at the guardianship hearing. Yes, so I had Patricia's recording, which was explosive evidence. But Amanda had a police report that made me look like I'd tried to kidnap my own grandson. Which would weigh more heavily? Which would the judge believe? Patricia reached over and took my hand. We fight them together. I'll testify. I'll bring the recording. I'll tell the judge everything. They'll destroy you too. I'm already dying, Sonia. What more can they take from me? But you still have life ahead of you. And those grandchildren need at least one decent grandparent. We can't let them win. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt a tiny spark of hope, but that spark was about to be tested in ways I couldn't imagine. The guardianship hearing arrived on a gray Thursday morning. Jerry met me outside the courthouse, reviewing our strategy one last time. Patricia was there too, looking frail but determined. "Remember," Jerry said, "stay calm no matter what they say. Don't let them provoke you. The judge is looking for any sign of instability." We walked into the courtroom. Amanda was already there with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. Craig sat behind them. Diane was in the gallery, smirking at me. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s named Judge Morrison, took the bench. Amanda's lawyer went first. She painted a picture of a concerned daughter trying to protect an increasingly unstable mother. She presented the police report from the Tyler incident, describing it as an attempted kidnapping. She had witnesses. Diane testified that I'd always been controlling and manipulative with Amanda, that I'd used money to maintain power over her. Craig's brother, someone I'd met exactly twice, testified that I'd made bizarre statements at a family gathering about people following me. I'd never said any such thing, but he said it so convincingly, so earnestly, that even I almost believed him. Then Amanda took the stand, and she was brilliant. She cried at all the right moments. She talked about how much she loved me, how hard this was for her, but how she had to think of her children's safety. She described incidents that never happened. Me calling her 50 times in one night, me showing up at their house, throwing rocks at windows, me sending her rambling, incoherent letters. "I just want my mom to get help," she sobbed. "I love her so much, but she's not herself anymore, and I'm scared for what she might do." I wanted to scream. Every word was a lie. But she was so convincing that I saw the judge's expression soften with sympathy. Then it was our turn. Jerry called me to the stand first. I explained everything: the setup at the Sunday dinner, the fake crisis about the house, the barbecue party, the systematic isolation. I was calm. I was clear. I told the truth. But Amanda's lawyer tore into me on cross-examination. She held up the police report. "Miss Sonia, isn't it true that police were called because your grandson showed up under suspicious circumstances? He ran away because he was scared. I wasn't involved. But you've been trying to turn the children against their parents, haven't you? Telling them their mother is cruel?" "No, I haven't spoken to them in weeks." "Convenient that you claim that when there's no one to verify it." Round and round we went. By the end, I felt like she'd made me look guilty of something, even though I'd told only the truth. Then Jerry called Patricia. She walked slowly to the stand, looking every bit the cancer patient she was, and she told her story. The judge leaned forward, listening intently as Patricia described what she'd overheard. "And you have a recording of this conversation?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor." Jerry played the recording. The courtroom went silent except for Craig, Amanda, and Diane's voices discussing their plan in detail. I watched Amanda's face go pale. Craig looked like he might be sick. When it ended, the judge looked at Amanda's lawyer. "Counsel?" Amanda's lawyer stood quickly. "Your Honor, we object to this recording. It was obtained without the knowledge or consent of my clients. We also have concerns about whether it was edited or manipulated. Mrs. Patricia has admitted she has a financial incentive to discredit her son, as she's been confronted about her own accusations against him. The recording is clear evidence of fraud and conspiracy," Jerry argued. The judge held up her hand. "I'll need to review the admissibility of this evidence. This hearing is getting complicated beyond a simple guardianship matter. It appears there may be criminal issues here." Amanda's lawyer jumped on that. "Your Honor, if I may, even if we assume the recording is genuine, which we don't, it doesn't change the fact that Miss Sonia has exhibited unstable behavior. The police report stands. The witness testimony stands. My client is willing to drop the guardianship petition if Miss Sonia will agree to undergo a mental health evaluation and if she'll stop harassing the family. It was a trap. If I agreed, it would be an admission that something was wrong with me. But if I didn't agree, I'd look unreasonable." Before Jerry could respond, Amanda suddenly burst into tears. Real, gasping sobs. She stood up. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge nodded, looking concerned. Amanda walked toward me, her face a mask of anguish. Mom, she said, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. Craig made me do all of this. He's been controlling me, manipulating me. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared. He said if I didn't go along with his plan, he'd take the kids and leave me with nothing. I stared at her in shock. What was she doing? She turned to the judge. Everything on that recording, that was Craig's idea, and Diane's. I just went along with it because I was terrified. I've been a victim too. I want to reconcile with my mother. I want to make this right. Please, can we just stop all of this? The judge looked between us. Miss Amanda, are you withdrawing the guardianship petition? Yes, Your Honor. And I want to press charges against Craig for fraud and coercion. Craig jumped to his feet. That's a lie! Amanda planned all of this. But Amanda was crying too hard to hear him, and the judge was ordering everyone to calm down. In the chaos, I caught Amanda's eyes for just a second, and she winked at me. She was throwing Craig under the bus to save herself. The judge dismissed the guardianship petition and ordered an investigation into the fraud allegations. Outside the courtroom, Amanda's lawyer and Jerry discussed next steps. Amanda approached me. Her tears mysteriously dried. I had to blame Craig to save myself, she whispered so only I could hear. But don't get comfortable, Mother. I'll make you pay for humiliating me in court. You should have just given me the money. She walked away, leaving me standing there shaking. She'd learned nothing. She was still manipulative, still vengeful, still determined to destroy me. She'd just adapted her strategy. 2 nights later, I came home from a grocery run to find my apartment door hanging open. I'd locked it, I was certain. Inside was devastation. My furniture was slashed. My photos were torn to pieces. My late husband's belongings, the things I'd treasured, were smashed and destroyed. My laptop was in pieces on the floor. Even my clothes had been cut up. And on my bed was a note in Amanda's handwriting. You're alone, and you'll die alone. Your grandchildren will never know you. I called the police, but there was no proof it was her. No cameras in my building. No witnesses. Just destruction and cruelty. I sat in the ruins of my life and realized that even though I'd won in court, Amanda's final message was clear. She'd never stop. She'd never let me have peace. The weeks after the break-in were the hardest of my life. I had to replace everything. Clothes, furniture, dishes, everything. The money I'd been saving went to rebuilding the basics of my life. But something shifted in me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was angry. And I was determined that Amanda wouldn't win. Patricia's recording had led to criminal charges against Craig and Diane for conspiracy to commit fraud and elder abuse. The district attorney was building a strong case. Craig's lawyer tried to get him a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't interested. Craig was facing up to 5 years in prison. Diane, being a paralegal, lost her license and was charged as an accomplice. She'd been the one who forged my signature, and a handwriting expert Jerry hired with a grant from a victims advocacy group proved it conclusively. Amanda, true to her courtroom performance, had managed to avoid charges by testifying against both of them. She painted herself as a victim of Craig's manipulation, and the prosecutor believed her. Or at least, decided she was more useful as a witness than as a defendant. Craig and Amanda's marriage fell apart within weeks. She filed for divorce, claiming abuse. Craig's family rallied around him, but his assets were frozen due to the criminal case, and he couldn't afford a good divorce lawyer. Amanda got the house in the temporary settlement, but she couldn't afford the mortgage on her salary alone. 2 months after the hearing, Amanda was forced to sell the house. My $70,000 had gone into that house, but legally I had no claim to it. The profit from the sale went to paying off their debts and legal fees. Amanda moved into a small rental house on the other side of town. Without Craig's income and now working 2 jobs to support 3 kids, Amanda's life had collapsed around her. She lost her part-time job at a boutique because she was constantly distracted and late. Her main job at a marketing firm was stable, but didn't pay enough for the lifestyle she was used to. 1 month after she moved, I got a call. "Mom? It's Amanda." Her voice was different, smaller, tired. "What do you want, Amanda?" "I need to see you. Please, can we meet for coffee?" Every instinct told me to say no. But I was curious. And maybe, just maybe, there was a tiny part of me that still hoped she'd had a genuine change of heart. We met at a cafe downtown the next day. Amanda looked terrible. She'd lost weight. She had dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes, usually so carefully coordinated, were wrinkled and worn. "Mom," she said as soon as I sat down, "I've lost everything. Craig's going to prison. The house is gone. I'm working 2 jobs and can barely pay rent. The kids are struggling. Madison's therapist says she's depressed. Tyler's grades have dropped. I don't know what to do." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. "I know I hurt you," she continued. "I know I did terrible things, but I'm drowning here. I need help. Please. For your grandchildren." "How much?" I asked flatly. "Whatever you can spare. 20,000 would get us stable. I could pay off my credit cards, catch up on bills, maybe afford a better place." I set down my coffee cup. "Amanda, you destroyed my reputation. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You broke into my home and destroyed everything I had. And now, you want money?" "I didn't break into your apartment," she said quickly. "Too quickly. I think you did. But I can't prove it, so I'll let it go. But here's what I want to know. Do you actually feel sorry? Or are you just sorry you lost?" Her face hardened. "Does it matter? You have money sitting in the bank while your grandchildren suffer. What kind of grandmother are you?" And there it was. The real Amanda, showing through the mask. "I'm the kind who learned that enabling cruelty isn't the same as showing love. So you're just going to let them suffer." I leaned forward. "I want you to understand something. When you stood in your dining room and told me I wasn't family, when you kicked me out of your life, you taught me the most valuable lesson anyone's ever taught me. You showed me that blood doesn't make someone family. Love, respect, and loyalty make family. You destroyed all 3 of those things. So that's it? You're done with me?" I didn't say that. I pulled an envelope from my purse. "These are bank statements. Trust fund accounts I've set up for Tyler, Madison, and Emma. Each account has $10,000 in it. The money is locked until they turn 21. They can use it for college, a car, starting their lives. But you can't touch it. I've made sure of that legally." Amanda's face went through several emotions. Shock, anger, calculation. "You're giving my children money but not me? I'm giving your children their inheritance from me. I'm teaching them something you never learned, that choices have consequences. And I'm making sure that when they're adults, they have a foundation to build on, regardless of what you do or don't do. They'll hate you for this. Maybe. Or maybe they'll understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's bad behavior." I stood to leave, but Amanda grabbed my arm. "Wait. I need the money now. Please. I have one more thing to tell you." I sat back down. "I've been meeting with Tyler, Madison, and Emma once a week for the past month. Patricia arranged it before she passed away last week. Did you know she died?" Amanda's face went pale. "No. She made sure, in her final weeks, that I could see my grandchildren through supervised visitation. A social worker is present, and it's all legal and documented. The children know what happened, Amanda. Tyler heard you and Craig planning to take my money. Madison overheard you laughing about manipulating me. They're old enough to understand some of it, and when they're older, they'll understand all of it. You're turning them against me." "No, I'm being honest with them, which is more than you've been, and I'm showing them what real love looks like. Not manipulation, not control. Just being there, consistently, without expecting anything in return." I stood again. "You asked what kind of grandmother I am. I'm the kind who loves her grandchildren enough to protect them, even if that means protecting them from their own mother's lessons. I'm the kind who will make sure they know they have someone who cares about them. no matter what. I won't allow you to see them. The court order says otherwise. Patricia made sure of that too. You can fight it, but given your current legal and financial situation, I wouldn't recommend it. Amanda's face crumpled. Real tears this time, I thought. Or maybe not. I'd never really know. Mom, please, I'm begging you. Amanda, I loved you with everything I had. I would have given you anything, but you didn't want my love. You wanted my money, and when I wouldn't give it on demand, you tried to destroy me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? To have your own child treat you like an enemy? I'm sorry, she whispered. Are you? Or are you sorry you lost? I repeated my earlier question. She didn't answer. And in that silence, I had my answer. Goodbye, Amanda. I hope someday you figure out what you threw away. But I'm done being your victim. I walked out of the cafe and didn't look back. 3 months later, I was settling into my new life. I'd moved to a different town, about an hour away, for a fresh start. The victims advocacy group that had helped me had also connected me with a therapist who specialized in family estrangement. Talking to her helped me understand that what Amanda had done wasn't my fault, that I hadn't failed as a mother, that some people are broken in ways you can't fix, no matter how much you love them. I joined a quilting group in my new town. The women there knew nothing about my past, and I liked it that way. I could just be Sonia, the woman who loved fabric patterns and terrible jokes, and strong coffee. I saw Tyler, Madison, and Emma every other weekend now. The supervised visits had transitioned to regular grandparent time once the social worker verified I was providing a safe, stable environment. Amanda had tried to fight it, but her lawyer advised her to drop it. Between her own legal troubles and Craig's criminal case, she didn't have the money or the energy for another court battle. The first time Madison stayed overnight with me, she helped me make cookies. As we were measuring flour, she looked up at me and said, "Grandma, Mommy said you didn't love us anymore." But that's not true, is it? I knelt down to her level. No, sweetheart. I love you more than anything in the world. Then why did you and Mommy fight? How do you explain adult cruelty to a 6-year-old? Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Your mommy made some choices that hurt me very badly. But that doesn't change how much I love you. Did you make mistakes too? Yes. I trusted people who didn't deserve my trust. And I let them hurt me for too long before I stood up for myself. My teacher says standing up for yourself is brave. Your teacher is right. Tyler, at 9, understood more. One day while we were playing catch in the park, he said, "I heard Mom and Dad talking about taking your money. I'm sorry, Grandma." Tyler, that's not your fault. Not any of it. But I should have told you. You're a child. It wasn't your responsibility to fix the adults' problems. He threw the ball back to me. Are you going to be okay, Grandma? I caught it and smiled. Yes, honey. I'm going to be just fine. And I was. It took time. It took therapy. It took building a completely new life. But I was okay. One evening, about 6 months after that terrible Sunday dinner, I was sitting on my small patio watching the sunset when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something made me answer. Miss Sonia? This is Martin Walker. I'm an attorney representing your late husband's estate. My heart jumped. Estate? My husband had died 5 years ago. Everything had been settled. There was a life insurance policy we've recently discovered, he continued. Your husband took it out 27 years ago through his employer. When that company was acquired by another corporation, then another, the policy got lost in the transitions. We've been tracking down beneficiaries for 2 years. I'm pleased to tell you that you're entitled to a payout of $420,000, plus accumulated interest. I couldn't speak. $420,000. Miss Sonia? Are you there? Yes, I managed. I'm here. I'll need you to come to my office to sign some paperwork. And I should ask, do you want this kept private? Some people prefer not to publicize windfalls like this. I thought about Amanda, about how she'd react if she knew, about the phone calls and the manipulation and the demands that would come. Yes, I I said firmly. I want this kept completely private. 2 weeks later, the money was in my account. I was suddenly, unexpectedly, secure for the rest of my life. I could afford a better apartment. I could travel. I could do all the things my husband and I had dreamed about. But more than that, I had peace. Real peace. Because I'd learned something valuable through all the pain. Your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. Your family isn't defined by blood. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Meanwhile, Amanda's life continued its downward spiral. Craig was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The house sold at a loss. She'd lost her main job due to too many absences and was now working retail and waiting tables. She'd called me twice more, asking for money, and both times I'd said no. The last time she called, about a month after I received the insurance payout, she tried a different approach. Mom, I've been going to therapy. I'm working on myself. I really am sorry for what I did. That's good, Amanda. I hope therapy helps you. I was thinking maybe we could start over. Rebuild our relationship. Amanda, rebuilding a relationship requires both people to want it for the right reasons. Do you want a relationship with me, or do you want access to what you think I have? Silence on the other end. Then, why are you being so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. Something you've never been with me. I'm your daughter, and you told me I wasn't family. You told me to get out. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You destroyed my reputation, my belongings, my peace. Did you think those actions wouldn't have consequences? Everyone makes mistakes. You didn't make a mistake, Amanda. You executed a year-long plan to manipulate and defraud me. There's a difference. She hung up on me. I haven't heard from her since. 6 months have passed since that terrible Sunday. I'm 68 now. I have a small apartment in a town where nobody knows my history. I have friends in my quilting group who invite me to dinners and game nights. I see my grandchildren regularly, and they're thriving. Tyler's grades are back up. Madison's depression is improving with therapy. Emma, at 3 now, knows me as the grandma who always has animal crackers and reads the same story 5 times without complaining. I've learned to recognize manipulation. I've learned that love without boundaries isn't love at all. I've learned that you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. And I've learned that walking away from someone who hurts you isn't giving up on them. It's refusing to give up on yourself. Sometimes Tyler asks me about his mom, about why things are the way they are. I tell him the truth in age-appropriate ways. Your mom is going through a hard time. She made some choices that hurt people, and now she's dealing with the results of those choices. I hope she learns from them, but whether she does or not, I'm here for you. Will you ever forgive her? He asked me once. I've forgiven her for my own peace, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean letting someone hurt you again. That Sunday dinner, when Amanda told me I wasn't family, when she kicked me out of her life, I thought it was the worst day of my life. In many ways it was. But it was also the day I stopped being a victim. The day I realized that being a good mother didn't mean accepting abuse from my daughter. The day I chose myself. I don't hate Amanda. I feel sad for her, for the life she's destroying through her own choices. I hope someday she wakes up and realizes what she's lost. But whether she does or doesn't, I'm going to be okay. Because I've learned the most important lesson of all. You are not responsible for fixing people who hurt you. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to simply walk away and let consequences teach the lessons you never could. I still have my memories of the sweet little girl Amanda once was, the daughter who made me dandelion bouquets and called me her best friend. I'll treasure those memories. But I won't let them trap me in a relationship that became toxic. Today, I'm free. I'm secure. I'm surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. My grandchildren are safe and loved. And I sleep peacefully at night knowing I stood up for myself when it mattered most. That's not the ending I would have chosen, but it's the ending I needed. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with a family member, even when it broke your heart? Have you faced manipulation from someone you loved? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. And if you want to hear more true stories about real people facing real challenges, subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with a toxic family relationship and needs to know they're not alone. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it wasn't easy to hear, just like it wasn't easy to live through, but I hope it gave you something to think about. Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect and love, no matter who the other person is. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. You're worth it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.